Huddle with paperplusoffice.co.nz, your local office supplies specialist, now open for business.
On the Huddle this evening, Cameron Slater from whaleoil.co.nz and editor of Truth. G'day, Cam.
G'day, Larry.
And Josie Pagani is back with us. Hello, Josie.
Hi, Larry.
Cameron, I'll deal with this one first with you because you have been very critical of the Teachers' Council, I think, in the past. There is call for a change. This comes after a review. It finds the council under its current structure can't effectively set and enforce standards for entry, progression and professional accountability, etc., etc. So it recommends a new professional body. What do you see in this?
Oh, I think that's a damn good idea. I mean, what we've got currently in Parliament, the legislation going through about charter schools, we've got the Labour Party and the Green Party telling us that registration is important. It must be part of the charter schools profile. The body that's responsible for registration of teachers, who the Labour Party says must be registered, of course, to protect the kids. The body responsible for that is the Teachers' Council. And we are seeing week after week after week a parade of teachers that are up on sex crimes, fraud, any number of charges, and they're all registered teachers. And I've been running a campaign on my website saying, well, these must be registered too. So you've got a major flaw in that body in terms of registering just who can be teachers. And then you've got the name suppression issue where they've gone and written their own rules which breach all sorts of other laws, and keeping the names of teachers who have either been deregistered or have been disciplined, keeping the names of those teachers out of the limelight so they can carry on polluting the minds of children.
Josie, I think there is a perception, in fact, Cameron's detailed, it may be real, that the Teachers' Council is rather impotent, that it protects incompetent teachers who have either broken the law or have done stuff, silly stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there certainly is that perception out there, Larry. But, I mean, hold on, this is deeply ironic, Cam, given that the national government is pushing charter schools and saying registered teachers don't matter.
No, they don't.
I mean, the whole point of saying that the Teachers' Council isn't actually overseeing the standards and the quality of teachers in a tough enough way. You can't then turn around and say, but actually we're going to introduce charter schools where you don't even have to be a registered teacher.
What I'm saying is registration is a pointless exercise. It does not, and it's proven week after week. There's just another headline in the paper today of a pedophile principal who's currently in jail. Now, he was registered.
But I mean, how much harder is it going to be, Cam, if the teachers aren't registered
what's
to
registration
stop the dodgy
doing?
teachers?
Well, it's not stopping them now.
But you can't say either it's not working and the Teachers' Council aren't doing a good enough job at holding people accountable, or registration doesn't matter. So
No, I don't believe registration matters. I don't believe you need a piece of paper from a bunch of wombles in Wellington who aren't doing their job to say that you're an effective teacher. There's
so
plenty
you would
of
have
people...
you would have no body that oversees teachers' professionalism and standards.
Look,
you think it's not necessary?
There's a difference between registration and overseeing professionalism and standards. There are plenty of people out there, and I know this personally, because my children have both been educated by a person that the Teachers' Council will not register because she doesn't have appropriate New Zealand recognised qualifications. But she is an expert, an absolute expert in teaching dyslexic and dyspraxic people, but the Teachers' Council won't register her, so she can't teach in a school, and it's bollocks.
And I think you're right. There are people out in our community who we don't actually use enough, who've got professional skills, who could. And
charter schools legislation will allow them to teach.
But I don't think it's an either or. That's the thing. But look, yes, the one thing I really like about some of these recommendations, Larry, is there's one recommendation there to have postgraduate qualifications for teachers. I think that's excellent because one of the sort of overriding things that makes a difference to student outcomes is the quality of the teachers. Whatever it is that gets us good teachers, whether it's more pay, whether it's postgrad qualifications, upping the status of teaching, that's how we're going to get good results.
Come back in a moment, Josie Pagani and Cameron Slater on The Huddle. It's 15 to 6.
Larry Williams Drive with the new ANZ, the bank that gives you more.
Back on The Huddle with Cameron Slater and Josie Pagani. Cameron, the Greens are proposing a 15% surcharge on non-residents buying property. They cite Hong Kong as an example of where this has been implemented. I think they're rather different market. It's a restricted market constrained by size, of course. What do you see in this?
Well, the Greens will be able to dovetail in with Labour's xenophobic policy as well, because they don't want foreigners to own farms. The Greens don't want foreigners to own residential house. So the bottom line is, when we've got a Green-led Labour coalition out there, is that no one will be able to own anything because they'll want probably state control.
Oh, come on, Cam. There's a difference between the Labor Party's policy, which is saying that farmland, we need to make sure that our productive
farmland... What are they going to do, roll it up and take it somewhere?
But no, but the point is that's the basis of our economy. So we don't want another country making money out of our primary
economy. It's okay for New Zealanders to own farms in other places, is it?
Well, no, what we're saying, what Labor Party is saying, what I've been saying for a long time on this show, is that you've got to prove that there are benefits for New Zealand if you're owning farmland, and that the benefits are going to come to New Zealanders, not to some other country.
It's anti-progress.
But the point about residential, I mean, I agree with you on this, that I think we don't even know the extent of how much overseas ownership there is of residential property. So that's the first thing. And secondly, I mean, yes, Russell Norman's probably right that it does contribute to the housing bubble, because if you've got a speculator who can buy 10 houses and raise money, they're raising money on a tax-free future income, whereas somebody who's earning a wage, who's paying taxes on that wage, cannot compete. Look, so that's why they can't afford it.
Well, it's not tax-free if they're actually making a profit, but you see that the problem is you go from the bubble to the burst. Josie, what a policy like this would mean, and it's the same for the farms, actually, these tricky-dicky ideas. It'll just wipe billions off prices, Cameron.
Well, they're into that, aren't they? They love wiping billions off prices.
I tell you what's wiping...
If someone owns 15 houses? You know, they talk about an housing affordability crisis. It's rubbish. I know a guy who's got 40 houses. They're eminently affordable for him.
Oh, right. So if the fact that NASA's brought a space station means that it's actually affordable and the average Kiwi family could buy one too.
But Josie, why is there this focus on that everyone must own a house? Some people are just deadbeats and they're never going to own a house.
No,
and they should just face up to renting for the rest of their natural life.
The focus, though, Cam, is on if you go and bid for a house, is it fair if you've got a speculator who owns 10 or more properties, and they can raise money, they can raise mortgages, and they can raise 120% mortgages. That's fine, but then you've got an average New Zealand family on an average wage.
Yeah, well, I don't know what you're going to do about that, Josie, to be honest.
You can't legislate to make auctions fair.
So now you're guilty.
Such a liberal...
come on, but now you're being guilty of what you accuse Russell Norman of, which is saying no to everything and that we're not going to do this and we're not going to do that. What would you do about the fact that most New Zealanders can't afford a house?
It doesn't matter.
Right.
Most people in Hong Kong don't afford a house.
At least you're honest, Cam.
It doesn't matter. No one's homeless. If they are in New Zealand, they are by choice. It doesn't. Why do we have this in New Zealand? This necessity to own a house. You don't own it anyway. The bank does most of the time. But I'll tell you what I think is sensible. When I started my working life, I worked for the National Bank. And when I started working in the bank, you had to save up and have a 20% deposit. And we had this ridiculous situation where we had 95%, 100% lending on properties. That's just ridiculous. And I think going back to that requirement for a 20% deposit, although you've got a whole bunch of people whinging that it makes life tough, life is tough.
All right.
Harden up.
Thank you, Cameron Slater, and thank you, Josie Pagani on the Huddle. It's now 9 to 6.